Hi, Hal.
Hi, Stan.
This is going to be a real interesting episode because you know what?
What?
We're at a kind of populated bar, and it's game night.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so you might hear a couple Yahtzees or Uno or something like that. I don't know what else I'm going to say. It's something.
You sank my battleship.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I think this is a game, so I believe we get 50 cents off our beers because we're playing a game together.
Oh, perfect.
Isn't that great?
When you said game night, I forgot about board game night. I definitely thought you were talking about the Tigers.
Tigers are on, so yeah, we were able to watch the Tigers. We were able to drink a little beer. We were able to do a little dance. God.
Stan, you're going to jail.
I don't think so. Hey, but let's get a couple of things because we're also eating in here because I bought a bag of Doritos and
yeah, there's so many Doritos. Just
so many Doritos.
Just a shitload of Doritos.
So if you're crunching, it's probably Hal eating my Doritos.
No, he told me to eat the Doritos. They're okay.
They're good. I mean, they're okay.
They're good for Doritos.
Right. I'll take that. Hey, welcome back to podcast. Some forever, some for better. Season 2, episode 5.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. People are already, there's so high acclaim for this show right now. And
we were going to cancel it, but we got so much hate mail, threats, demands for us to continue.
Yeah, well, people thought we canceled it simply because, yeah, I'll blame it myself because I have to do a little research and read up some of the topics. And I've been busy this summer, so it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I was able to get back to that. And it'll probably be the same. So, once we get in the fall, we'll start releasing more regularly. But for now, there might be some delays or some vacation.
We'll probably have one more. We might have one more before we go on vacation, right?
Yeah. You should do one more, and then there's going to be some vacation, and then the bike ride across Iowa that is probably the highlight of our summer.
That's your thing. I am not doing that. After the episode about Iowa, I have no reason to ever go there.
Iowa's going to be great. I'm going to come back. We're having another episode just talking about the bike ride across Iowa and what we did.
Why do I think this is going to be a 30-second conversation? Corn.
No. It's going to be just like a guy talking about his golf match. Well, I hit this stroke, and then I hit this stroke. It's going to be the same thing. Well, I pedaled, and then pedaled again.
Men just want to talk about their strokes and their balls. It's fucking stupid. Don't care.
So our topics from this podcast, and I'm sure you're interested in hearing about them, Hal, is from 1877, Brazil. We're going to talk about races, colonies, and the Constitution of Brazil.
I kind of know about some of that.
Oh,
yeah. So if I already know something, I'll be like,
stop.
Next.
No, I don't think you know this stuff.
Well, you have a tendency to just present things in the most boring yet horrifying way possible.
The amount of racism that's directly in the 1877 Encyclopedia Britannica will shock you.
It shan't shock me. I'll just get every episode. I'm just gonna get a little more misanthropic until you can just watch in real time my supervillain origin story.
She can't get more misanthropic. She's pretty solidly there right now.
I'm just gonna go on to Elon's Nazi Twitter and tweet at Trump bet you're too much of a pussy to use the codes. Use the codes. Use them, bitch. Yeah, you won't do it, right? You're a bitch. And then he'll use the codes.
You want to call a ceasefire between you and me, and you want to do that just for this episode? Ceasefire in effect right now?
I suppose that thing that neither side agreed to is definitely
fuck you, Hal. Fuck you, Hal.
Fuck you. Hey, Stan.
Hey, you got your mouth full.
Hey,
hold
Stan.
on, eat that first and then say something.
Hey, Stan, I got a message from you. I got a message for you from everyone in the world. It just says, fuck you.
Ceasefire was broken.
Okay, where are we starting?
1980, we haven't talked about the topics yet. 1980 is changes in populations, and I'll get into details of what that means.
Okay.
And And then the Wikipedia is Tucuruvi.
Okay.
And that's in Brazil as well. We got two things
Is that
in Brazil.
a plant?
No, that's actually a region in Brazil, and there's a train station there.
Okay.
So if you know any lonely train songs, bring them up.
You didn't think I would have one, did you? You fucking racist. You fucking neuro-normal person not loving trains.
You got that hobo look about you.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a hobo, a bum, vagrant? Is it all the same thing?
A vagrant has to like wander from place to place. I think a hobo just means like you're homeless and you live in a tent. And a bum is what you call your husband when he loses his job if you're like a 1970s housewife.
Yeah, bum.
Like, what do you mean I have to fucking contribute now?
Okay, so we're going to start in 1877. And we had that connection because we had the episode about the first guy that went to India and accidentally ran into Brazil. He was a Portuguese explorer. His name was Pedro Alvarez Cabral. And he was going from west to east, but ran into Brazil and said, "This is mine." So he's the one that discovered it away from everybody else.
He's my least favorite Pedro.
We know who your favorite Pedro is.
Yeah. Someday he'll know about it too.
We still have our fundraiser to try to get him to replace me on this show.
Yeah. Has anyone donated yet, or do they hate us?
Nobody wants to. They love me.
No, I think they just hate both of us, and they want us to both suffer forever.
So another interesting thing was Amerigo Vespucci. It was the explorer that the Americas was named after.
I know him. I remember that from 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade social studies.
So he saw Brazil from his ship. He sailed by it and he waved at the natives. They were all standing on shore waving by.
Yeah, I'll bet.
It's a really cute episode. It's made famous in that famous painting about the Brazilians waving at the ship.
I think they were maybe waving one finger. Like, oh no, those people, they're here to enslave us.
We do talk about that a little bit. So it covers like three things in this area. One was races, one was colonies, and one was constitution. So it starts with the racing with the Aboriginal Indians, and this is from 1877.
Yep.
It says they have become amalgamated with the settled population. So they weren't settled, I guess. They were uncivilized. But when the Portuguese came there, they were the settled population, and they amalgamated with them.
Amalgamated. Great.
It says in the eastern or maritime provinces, that's where most of the amalgamated people are. But in the...
It uses the word amalgamated.
Many times. I'm throwing it all.
I
It was
hate
in
it.
there. It was in amalgamated is how they described.
I bet whoever wrote this entry just learned the word amalgamated and wanted to prove he knew what it meant to all his friends.
I think he was like English, and it was just normal part of his conversation. We're going to amalgamate this mayonnaise.
Tea. Fucking cunt.
It did say in the vast forest, which is the Amazon rainforest, and the grass plains, they remain more or less in a completely savage condition. Sauvage.
Sauvage. Is the name of a brewery or something? Oh, wait.
What?
No.
We're in a brewery.
We're in a brewery.
Let's take a drink for that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ting. Sting.
Said the Indians are of a copper color, of middle height, thick-set, broad-chested, and muscular, with well-shaped limbs and small hands and feet.
Okay.
Who else has small hands?
Whoever wrote that entry sounded very horny. Like, oh yeah, those broad shoulders and chest muscles. Oh yeah. Oh boy.
But their small hands made him feel bigger. So the hair is black, thick, and straight. The eyes are black and sometimes oblique, like those of the tatar races of Eastern Asia. The tatars. We talked about the tatars before. They were Tartars or tatars at some point.
Tater tots.
Yeah.
Racist.
However, they're apathetic and undemonstrative nature. And I'm not sure what undemonstrative means. I don't know. Maybe kind of weird word to describe a person.
Not ostentatious.
Maybe. The it's all from one original stock. The ethnographers called the Tupi Guarani, and the semi-civilized tribes.
Semi-civilized?
Speak the Lingua Geral, which is a language adopted by the Jesuit missionaries from the original language. So basically, Jesuits come there and said, "Speak English. We don't Wait a minute. Speak Portuguese. We don't understand you." But if they made a movie out of it, it'd be, "Speak English. We don't understand you."
And everybody would have a bad accent except for Tom Hanks, who just talks American.
And then they would do the Jar Jar Binks noise. Like, yeah, they all talk like Jar Jar Binks. Miso.
Jar Jar Binks, everyone's favorite character.
So the entire population of Brazil spoke Jar Jar Binks language until the Portuguese civilized them.
The Portuguese were a non-violent ethnicity before they were the Jar Jar, and then they became like racist, violent slavers.
So when it says the Brazilians, so it said the savage Indians are collectively called gentiles, which is heathens, by the Brazilians. So in 1870, the Brazilians are the Portuguese settlers that had moved there. And they've been there for 300, 400 years already. And it does say in the rainforest, let's talk about the rainforest. I don't think that was a term back then, but it talks about in the forest, the people there have resisted civilization and are sunk in the lowest barbarism and are fast disappearing. And when you talk about someone disappearing, they may not be hiding, they may be made to disappear.
Like kind of Vladimir.
Since there were no large-scale civilizations like cities, like no Aztecs, no Mayan civilization, no Incas in the Brazil, it was all just like people living semi-nomadic in villages or at the best.
So all the Westerners were like, "Oh, civilization!" And now that civilization has reached its culmination, which is just rampant late-stage capitalism and extreme exploitation, and everybody's fucking miserable and wants to go live in the woods. So who was right, really, in the end? Resist civilization. You don't want your fucking capitalism. Your Liberty Mutual ads every 2 seconds. Fuck you.
There are stories about people from the Western civilization are being kidnapped or forced to join the uncivilized tribes. And no one ever went back to the Western civilization. They had the choice, but maybe no one, but almost all of them adapted and they chose to stay with the uncivilized tribes.
Interesting.
The reverse is almost never true.
Mm-hmm.
So people who are taken from the uncivilized tribes and forced to have a Western culture never really adopted it, and when they got the chance, they would go back.
That's because it's fucking stupid. It's like, I had some strokes today with my balls, and I was knocking my balls into some strokes. My balls got wet because I took too many strokes because my balls got wet. And there's so many strokes and wet balls. Fuck your civilization, dude.
You're a golfer.
Yeah, I am a golfer.
You should talk about our golf games.
I just did.
It did say the Aboriginals' relationship with the Portuguese was peaceful. The Jar Jar Binks, they were peaceful.
The Jar Jar.
Unless the Portuguese tried to use them as slaves.
How dare they become unpeaceful?
And they wanted to use them as slaves to battle with the Dutch or the French, as you would if you're Portuguese. Because, fuck the French, fuck the Dutch, because Portuguese.
Yep.
And, or for cultivating sugarcane or Brazil wood. So the Brazilians got some wood.
They also got nuts. Brazil nuts.
Brazil nuts, Brazil wood. Yeah, I think this is innuendos in there that they didn't realize they had.
Oh, I'm sure. It was right there. Whoever wrote all this shit was very horny.
Oh, this is actually from the 1980s. They're talking about this. It said
yeah, they were super horny.
The Portuguese had a plantation system. So they were like, American-style plantations. And a lot of the Indian tribes fled into the interior because they didn't want to be slaves on the plantation.
That's understandable.
Yeah. And it did say a lot of Indians were massacred, but mainly by disease. They did have some hunts to kill them, as you would, Jar Jar Binks. But most of it was by disease. In 1980, it said in the 1500s, the population was about 1 million people, Aboriginals living in Brazil. And in 1980, after it recovered somewhat, it was up to 200,000. So it's an 80% population drop, even though it was probably more at one point before they started recovering.
The right people never contribute to the population drop. Like, all the people who went over there unasked for, they should be dropping their population.
Yeah, for some reason, I guess because one of the things was Europe was so overpopulated that even though people were dying, they just kept sending more and more and more.
I mean, it's Europe. The ocean is right there. Send them there. Send them into the ocean. Jeez.
Back in 1877, it said Europeans, mostly Portuguese, mixing with native Indians, are descended from the Mamelucas from raids in the southern provinces. So it's kind of for the same tribes. And it said they progressively melded together thanks to repeated intermixing. So in 1877, it was they were amalgamating, and in 1980, it was progressively melded from repeated intermixing. So it's just different terms that are used at different times. And the Portuguese mixed with both the Indians and the Africans. And it said because of this, the Brazilian population offers an infinity of shadings. So you've got all over the place. So we go ahead to Wikipedia. In 1872 was the first census. So it wasn't covered. I didn't see it in the 1877. And there were 4 races in 1877 or 1872. White, black, Indian, and brown. Those were the 4 races. Brown included, I'm going to butcher this, caboclos, which is whites mixed with Indians.
Catawaba.
Mulattoes, which is whites mixed with blacks. And Cafuzos, which is blacks mixed with Indians. Those were the 3 terms that they were using for the races, or the mixed races.
Okay.
But they all count as brown.
Yeah. Pardo.
And almost all the whites were from Portuguese. Then eventually some other people came in. And just to get the size, 1877 population was 10 million. Today it's 210 million. That's the difference in population in Brazil.
Well, all right.
Of those, 45% are Pardo, which is mixed, 43% white, 10% black, less than 1% is indigenous or aboriginal, less than 1% East Asian, officially called yellow.
That's fucked up.
Or Amarillo.
Just so that did you say amaretto?
Amarillo.
You didn't even whiteify that problem. Well, just for our white listeners, we hate that. Just so that you're informed, you don't have to embarrass yourself by asking someone later.
They won't. This is all from 1877.
I mean, I found out recently that a significant portion of American children don't know about Spain, like the country. They don't know that Spanish comes from Spain. And so I think that we need like another super flu to wipe out like anybody under the age of 25.
I thought,
babies.
I thought all flus came from China.
No. Only the ones that Americans spread more than anybody else on the planet by far. Gotta scapegoat someone, right? Gotta scapegoat the Chinese.
It did say, so percentage like Ancestry, if you do Ancestry.com, 60% have European ancestry, 25% African, and 15% indigenous. And there are, as of today, 67 uncontacted tribes. So tribes
leave them alone.
And
they are pure.
We leave them alone. We let them stay. We don't direct
them. Fucking what a whiteism. You just let escape your fucking old man.
Because we have people that want to exploit the area, and we make sure they don't. So that's a good thing.
It is a good thing. Kill the exploiters. Kill them.
And as you probably know, I don't know if it's majority, but the largest portion of slaves were sent to Brazil.
Uh-huh.
So and the numbers are immense. Like the U.S. probably received 5% of the traffic, while Brazil had 40 to 50% of it. Others were sent to other South American countries. Some were sent to Europe, the Caribbean for a lot of the sugar plantation. Brazil had just by far the most number of slaves imported there.
Well then.
And so
women just importing people for fucking.
And so they had a pretty large population that has African ancestry. And it did say in 1877, it was talking about the Africans. These, by intercourse with the white race, have sprung the mulattoes, and the descendants of these have become progressively whiter.
Ooh.
That's from 1877.
Progressively less hot. That super horny fucking description from 1877 now is just like mayonnaise. Wah, wah, wah. A little bit of salt. Wah, wah.
And it does say the Brazilian Creoles, which is mixed race people, who call themselves Brasileiro, prove little inferior in capacity, physical strength, or intelligence to the pure race of Portuguese. This is like in the most racially messed up part of the world, when it was like everything was like based on races. And
how many Olympic medals does Portugal take home? Asking for a friend. Curious.
I'm chomping on like Doritos.
I know. So like you opened this enormous bag of Doritos and you pointed it at me, and I have filled up on Doritos and my mouth is tingling.
Have a beer.
I did.
If you need a beer, we can do a pause and go get a beer.
No, you need to get to your... I don't think you've even gotten to your thesis statement yet. Like, there's all this stuff.
All right, we'll keep going on. And we talked earlier, the Indians didn't want to be slaves, so the Portuguese started using African slaves around 1538. said
Oh,
there
how
were about
accommodating of them.
3 to 4 million Africans were brought to Brazil between the 1500s and the 1800s. And this is long after the slave trade was banned in the United States and England and a lot of other places. Here it is. 40% of all slaves imported to the Americas were sent to Brazil.
All right.
And it does say most were West Africans and also from Angola. And one thing I thought was this is in the 1980, it said the fugitive slaves, they had a lot of fugitives, taught the Indians agriculture because they were not farmers. So the Indians at that time were more hunter-gatherers. And when the African slaves ran away, a lot of places to run away in Brazil, they met up with the Indians and taught them farming techniques that they were using in Africa.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Well, yeah, I don't think that was good intentions. Slavery was abolished in 1888. So in the Encyclopedia Britannica, 1877, slavery was still a thing in Brazil.
It's still a thing here, too, right?
What's that?
When was it abolished here?
1865 at the end of the Civil War. So Emancipation Proclamation just freed the slaves.
That was my
in the
favorite
southern states.
set of words when I was a child.
Emancipation Proclamation.
It rhymes. How whimsy.
But it does say there was a lot of manumission of slaves during the 1800s. They were freeing a lot of slaves. I think it was getting a movement to do that, but they were the last country, I believe, to end slavery. Brazil got their independence from Portugal in 1822, and at that time they created colonies. I didn't find any mention of colonies in the 1980 or Wikipedia, but in 1877 it was talking about the Brazilian colonies that they'd created in other non-European populated parts of the country where they were bringing in like Germans and Swiss to try to move into Brazil. It does say some of them were disastrous since the climate and soil is unsuited to the Anglo-Saxons.
Oh, yeah. Jesus, that's so... Okay, I'm gonna sneeze.
I don't like your sneeze because I wanted something louder.
Got more to say, I got more sneezes.
Bless you.
It's just... the phrasing. I'm gonna become like a TED talker or something, and I'm gonna use channeling the unearned confidence of the straight white man to become super successful and start a cult, a death cult. Be like, yes, the weather here is unsuited to me. Nah, I shouldn't be fucking living here.
No, we need to change
We need to
the
change
weather.
the weather using the space lasers. From the Hebrew population.
I'm going to jump ahead because colonies wasn't mentioned that much. I'll cover the Constitution in 1877. We'll have a lot of discussion about that. So I don't know if you know this, but Brazil was a monarchy. It was based on the Portuguese monarchy.
Well, sure.
So they had an emperor. So, U.S. had a president from 1988 or 89.
You say 1988? We are very young.
Wait a minute. It's recent. From 1789. That's when we had our president from that time frame. And Brazil was 1877. They still had basically a king or an emperor. And it was based on the Portuguese royalty because the prince was, I'm going to go be the prince of Brazil when it was like a property of Portugal.
It can be the prince of these nuts.
And like
count my
anything,
strokes. There's 21 strokes in my balls. I club my balls and count my strokes.
Stop clubbing your balls.
I must club my balls. That's how will everyone else know I'm rich.
It does mention a little bit that
I have a boy who follows around carrying my ball clubbing sticks, and he counts my strokes. And that's completely fine. Civilization.
they gave a couple titles. They had a marquis, a count, a baron, or a knight. You have knights. They still had knights in Brazil, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't think they had shining armor.
I think that I'm going to become a knight errant. That's a natural progression.
Yeah, you just like be a knight. It's like,
That's a natural progression to the gig economy. Is everyone's just a knight errant now?
So I'm going to be a firefighter when I grow up. What about you?
A knight errant. It's a guy who walks around looking for trouble so they can stop the trouble, but it kind of just creates trouble.
I think it's worthy. Oh, it does. It says titles in Brazil were not hereditary, but the father could give his title to his son if his son proved worthy. So, you got to prove it to your dad. It's like,
it's either super nepo or
it's super nepo.
Tell you about. I'm going to show you my strokes and balls. You have to wet your balls in the least number of strokes to impress father. And if you want to become king someday.
He's quite the golfer.
Father! I got my balls wet, but on only 7 strokes. It only took me 7 to 10 business strokes to wet these nuts.
And he wears his sweater around his neck. And he's like just lounging at Chase Lounge.
Fucking sunglasses and the brim of his hat.
But he can get a title from that. Cool. I wrote this down because there's 6 orders of chivalry.
Oh, yes, excellent. Perfect for my Knights Errant plan.
The Southern Cross, Dom Pedro I, Rose, Christ, Saint Benoit of Aviz, and Saint Theodoric. Those were the chivalric orders. I don't know what that means. I didn't look anything other further than that.
Well,
but it sounds like knights running errands.
Yeah, I am Sir Stan of the Order of the Rose. I'm here to plant some gardens.
Yeah, exactly.
Water your shrubs.
And since they had an emperor, they had a constitution, and they had 4 branches of government: legislative, executive, judicial, and moderating. So moderating is the one that we don't have.
Yeah, I don't fucking need that. I need just a fucking relationship counselor.
So the moderator was the emperor. So the moderating branch is just the emperor, and his responsibility is to maintain equilibrium and harmony with the other powers. So basically, he tells them what to do. You have to make sure they're maintaining their equilibrium.
This is fucking arm gesture you're doing. You're doing like imagination.
I don't know what that was.
That was it's you guys.
The emperor picks the senators. So he picks them. He says, "Yeah, you over there in the back." Who, me? No, next to you.
No, the hot one.
And he convenes and adjourns the assembly. Like our Congress, they get sworn in. They do some
And
Congress
then they cause the fucking government shutdown and do fucking nothing and then go on break and then all of us are just fucked.
I really don't know what they do. Right? They talk a lot and they do stuff like that.
They say racist stuff unapologetically.
It does happen. And this guy would just say, yeah, we need guys to convene. The guys I picked, you guys go up there and you're going to like talk about something. And I'm going to moderate because I need to maintain equilibrium and harmony. And it does say, it says the emperor is sacred, inviolable, and irresponsible.
Okay.
That's from 1877. It said, and irresponsible.
He's not responsible for anything?
That's what I don't understand. It's like, is he just irresponsible himself? They just know he's stupid and doesn't pay attention and just does stuff? Or is he, whenever he says something, he's not responsible for it going wrong?
Maybe it's one of those words that meant something different back then, like sensible.
Yeah, it's like irresponsible. It's like, okay, he's carefree. He just doesn't give a shit about things.
He spends all day out on the green counting his strokes and wetting his balls, knocking those balls around. Naming stuff after birds.
Keep talking so I can eat these chips.
Eat the chips faster. Birds and balls.
All right.
Stroking sticks. Stroke sticks. Not calling golf clubs anything else for the rest of my life. Stroke sticks.
Stroke sticks.
I'm on a 48-inch stroke stick.
A bag of stroke sticks. Stroke sticking. You guys do a game of stroke sticking this weekend? I got some tea times for 8 o'clock tomorrow to do some stroke sticking.
And knock some balls. Get them nice and wet. The water trap.
You're going to use a wood or an iron.
Oh, yeah. Fuck you, 1877.
So the emperor wasn't just the moderating part of the government. He was also the executive. So he basically ruled the country and moderated. He had 7 ministers that he used. The minister of justice, the minister of war, minister of marine, minister of finances, minister of foreign affairs, and the minister of agriculture, commerce, public works. That's one minister, and the minister of ecclesiastical affairs.
Okay. Super boring. It's like, all right, I'm sure that's a very fascinating and important piece of lore to hardcore nerds without girlfriends, but okay.
No comments about the minister of ecclesiastical affairs. That's a softball.
I mean, I was going to say the Minister of Foreign Affairs is just in charge of fucking covering up all the time the king cheats on his wife with fucking imported enslaved concubines.
It's the foreign affairs. The ecclesiastical affairs is
just boy touching.
It's just boy touching.
No, it's just you go in the green and you're like, hey, boy, hold my stroking sticks. And in your other hand, hold my balls. I'm gonna beat those hard and get them nice and wet later.
Sounds like an
I'm not very
ecclesiastical
good
affair.
at golf. Yeah, that's the ecclesiastical.
It said the executive is responsible for treason, corruption, abuse of power, acts contrary to the liberty, security, or property of citizens, and waste of public property. That's what he's responsible for.
So he's literally responsible for Trump.
I think he probably did. It sounds like Trump. Abuse of power, yeah, he's got it. Treason, yeah, he's got it. Corruption, yeah.
You can make like some word art out of it. Yeah, we don't have that minister, and you can really tell.
In the legislative, there are 2 houses, same as we have. They have the Senate, appointed by the emperor. Deputies are indirectly elected. the people with an income of 22 pounds annually could vote for electors. Elector had to have an annual income of 90 pounds per annual. So it's like,
Which is literally based on
it's all based
income
on
inequality. I mean, that's literally the same here, though. Everybody buys their way into fucking power. That's why everything sucks so bad.
And they had a couple, like, minors, monks, servants couldn't vote. Naturalized foreigners and persons not professing the religion of the state. So Brazil is one religion. They can't
Church
be
of
deputies.
Brazil, you heard of it.
But they can't be elected as deputies, but they can be appointed senators. Like, let's say the emperor and this dude who's like Protestant is golfing together.
Golfing.
Yeah, stroke sticking.
Stroke sticking.
And they can do that. And then the guy said, hey, you're a good stroke sticker. I'm going to make you a senator. And the guy said, oh, yeah, we can talk about my stroke sticking.
I'll show you my ball.
So I went a little further into this in 1980, and it said Brazil had 7 constitutions since they became independent in 1822. You know how many constitutions the U.S. has had?
Well, we used to have one, but now it's 0.
It's still there. It still is the official law of the land.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that's covered in bad graffiti.
They're trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I looked in the Wikipedia to read more about that. And in 1822, Prince Regent Pedro de Alcântara declared independence from Portugal and said, I am now the emperor of the Empire of Brazil.
Okay.
So it was the Kingdom of Brazil, one of the Portuguese kingdoms, the Portuguese Empire. But then they said, now I am the Empire of Brazil. That was, he declared it.
Okay.
And so the reason we didn't have a lot of stuff before this in 1877 was because it became a dictatorial republic in 1889. So it hadn't. So at that point, it was just an empire still. In 1889, they had a military coup by Teodoro da Fonseca.
My friend Flintstone.
Yeah, pretty much. And he changed the name, so it's no longer
My Fedora Flamingo.
Fonseca. He changed the name. It became the Republic of the United States of Brazil.
That's kind of derivative, isn't it?
I think it may have been, but it was kind of like, by that time, we were thinking, hey, United States of America is pretty cool. They have republic. Even though I'm a dictator, we're going to call it Republic of the United States of Brazil. A lot of stuff going on there.
Well, I mean, North Korea calls itself the Democratic Republic of Korea. We call ourselves the United States. We call ourselves a democracy. Hilarious.
There are some democratic things.
Okay.
I won't say what
that was a complete sentence.
One interesting thing, it said women and the illiterate couldn't vote. And women and the illiterate, and that was the majority of the population, were not allowed to vote because they were either women, which is normal, and
I mean, it's the same here. That's the only way. The Republicans know that's the only way they can win elections, is they prevent 80% of people from voting.
And then it was interesting too. So this guy had a military coup, and then coffee oligarchs rule. So Brazil's a huge coffee producer, right? Mm-hmm. And so you imagine in the 1800s, it's like the Gilded Age in the Americas, the Belo Peak or Pac, whatever it was.
Oh my God!
Belo Pac.
No.
The bell. You can try. Okay, I'll give you. Go ahead.
I just
no,
said.
You get it. No.
Stan. Do you remember how to pronounce duck?
No.
When was the bell? Okay. When was the Belle Époque? Wow, my fucking watch is.
At that time, the coffee was a big thing in Brazil, so
Fuck you, Siri.
all the coffee barons were basically ruling the country. It'd like me saying Rockefeller or Carnegie; those guys would be the ones ruling the U.S. Equivalent type of thing.
I would dip my wet balls in their mouth. I might shove my stroke stick down their throat. I don't like them.
And you like coffee, don't you?
Yeah, I like coffee. I don't like
I
rich
like-
guys who own everything and
You know what I
enslave
like?
and exploit people.
I like cream sugar with coffee flavoring.
You order the most obnoxious, horrendous drinks at coffee shop. He treats every locally owned coffee house like a Starbucks. It's horrific.
I basically say, can I have cream and sugar and put a coffee bean I can stir around in there?
I don't know how you don't have diabetes.
So in 1930, a military junta came to power, and they led through 1945. And then from 1945 to 64, there was a democratic republic. It went to more like what we have. And then there was a ruler, Yoa Millard, and I don't know if that's right or not. It's Joao. So Yoa.
Joao.
I think it's Yoa.
Joao. Is it Portuguese?
Yeah.
In Portuguese, the J is actually pronounced like a
Okay.
J.
Okay. And is the G pronounced as an H or a G?
I don't know. I know a little bit.
Okay, because I have a friend. His middle name is Hermain, and it's pronounced German. So I don't know if that's the same thing. So it's Goulart or Goulart, one of the two.
Okay.
So he was the last left-wing president of Brazil, and the military, the Catholic Church, the United States didn't like that.
Oh, you don't say. They don't like people who actually aren't fascist.
Because left wing seems like that's socialism or that's communism. So we had Operation Brother Sam to help the Brazilians get rid of that guy so they didn't fall like a domino to the Russians.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yes, that happened. 1964.
Yeah, that's every time America goes in, they're like, oh, we're helping and liberating countries. They literally just like rape everything and destroy everything. Could you like stay the fuck out of other countries? Americans should not be allowed to travel abroad. An American passport should not get you out of America. Like every country should close its borders to us. We literally don't let people come into this country if they're too brown. Every country, like, okay, I'm in power. Tonight, Japan's borders are closed again. No, you fucking white millennials, you can't go have your little midlife crisis in Japan, you fucking racists. Fucking racial fetishists. Get the fuck out. How do you like it?
No.
Vote better, bitch.
I think the racial fetishes were very strong in 1877.
Oh, you don't say. No, they're like so super fucking strong now. It's disgusting. That's why I get to live in complete like nonchalance about how fucking doomed we are. I can't wait till that asteroid comes and knocks us out of our orbit and everybody dies. Yes, please.
What was that?
It'll feel like a fender bender, and then we'll either be on fire or frozen to death immediately.
The military coup that we helped with ruled from 1964 to 1985. Changed the name again. Federative Republic of Brazil. And then
So boring.
In 1985, they had a presidential election again. The guy that won, Tancredo Neves, was the first elected president, but he died before he took office.
Okay, so how you're supposed to present history like this is there was a guy, and he ruled for a bit, and then they cut his head off. And then another guy came in, and they cut his head off. And then a new guy came in, and they cut his head off. That's the French post-French Revolution, right? This is how you're supposed to say, because I don't give a fuck about anything you're saying. I'm not going to remember any of these names. Also, we've been on this topic for like 54 minutes.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Can you, like,
The rest
move
of-
on,
The rest
please?
of them are shorter. This is the last part of this one, I think. it's this guy was elected. He knew he was dying, but he hid it from the people because he thought if he said he was dying, they would continue the military rule. So he acted like he was okay. He died before he took office because he was worried they wouldn't put the vice president in the office, but they did. And Brazil has been a democratic republic since then.
Okay.
And now they're very similar to the U.S.
Yeah, extreme corruption.
Same form of government. You have a president.
No. Full stop. They're very similar to the U.S. Extreme corruption.
Oh, well, I wasn't talking about that, but
Shut
if you
up.
bring it up.
Shut up. Shut up, stick stroker.
I'm getting off the strict stroking topic. We're going to our next 1980 topic, which is changes in biological population.
Oh my God, stroking sticks, knocking balls.
So I'll talk about 1877. Nothing about changes in biological population in 1870. There was biology, which is taxonomy. There was population, which is human population.
Irrelevant, extraneous, superfluous.
So I don't think there was a lot of concern with biological population back in 1877 because we killed off the passenger pigeons in the 1870s. People thought animals were provided to us by God to do whatever we wanted. Tigers hit a home run. Nice. 3-run homer.
Oh shit, that's actually really awesome.
Yes.
Nice. Hey, look at that. Our number is so much bigger than their number. Suck it. Nice.
And we'd also reduce the population of buffalo, American bison.
Just for these random Japanese guys in the stand. Yay! Keep talking. I'll keep pretending to listen.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
And then by 1877, there was only a few thousand American bison left in the country. So population of animals
That's
wasn't
because they
a
were
huge thing
delicious.
back then. No, they killed them for fun.
Oh, well, I mean,
So
that is what our species does.
I did look at this a little bit. The term biological population was originated by Edward O. Wilson in 1971. So that's why it wasn't in 1870. So it's very, very new. There's a formula that says change in n over change in time equals to rate of natural increase by the population size. 1 minus the population size divided by the carrying capacity. So that's the only formula I'm going to talk about today because Hal really doesn't care about it.
I do not care at all about what you're saying.
She will, though. It'll be very important for her as we get further and further along this topic, and she realized the impact it has on her life.
Oh, he went into the stands. Right into the... Oh, but he got it, though. Oh, fuck. Okay. Hey, my nail polish is falling off. Can you, hurry this up?
So the population growth follows an S curve where it starts off flat, grows rapidly, and then tails off and comes level.
Okay.
And the reason it does this is because when something's introduced to population, you have 2 things make 4 things make 8, and so it has exponential growth until it starts consuming all the resources in the environment, so it levels off to what the environment can support.
Or if you're human, it just keeps going and keeps going. People won't stop fucking breathing.
Well, this is not really on human. This is on the animals and things like biological.
Isn't that because we
plants and animals?
Yeah, but without our interference, that does happen. Like the predators pull the prey population and shit like that.
That's all coming up in here. So it talks about sometimes the population levels off because animals spread. They go someplace else. And the example they use is the house sparrow was introduced to the Americas, and within 40 years, it had spread from coast to coast.
Okay.
And the house sparrow is considered a pest. My mom called it a specky. No idea what that meant. That was a name for the speckies.
It's like
That sounds like a derogatory term for like mentally challenged people in the UK.
So they were called. I have no idea what it means, but it's like
I'm pretty sure it's some kind of derogatory term.
Only thing I remember is that I had a BB gun, and I was only allowed to shoot at the speckies because they were a pest bird. I wasn't the best at identifying birds, like basically they're all speckies to me.
Okay, you need to stop saying that because I'm sure that if I look that up, I will find out that it is all. It's like an epithet.
So the house sparrow, you can probably eat it, because I know that's always a question that comes up, but there's not much there. It's probably a little bit bigger than the ortolan, which they eat whole.
Okay.
It does say that the wild population declines typically. So when it grows real fast, it typically declines. And the assumption is because they ate their entire food supply after introduction, so they can never grow to what they did initially. And some species will eat their entire food supply and extinct themselves. And here's one. Humans, like you said, can also alter the food supply. And the example they bring up is the seagull, the mine. Because originally seagulls were really found next to bodies of water because they ate seafood, right?
Uh-huh.
And now they're everywhere. We have them everywhere, and the reason is because they now exclusively eat French fries that people dump out of their car at a Meijer parking lot because it's cool to watch all the seagulls come around and eat them.
I fucking hate our species. I hate our fucking species.
So, because not that, we have like seagulls in parking lots because they're expecting somebody's going to throw out French fries.
Now we have fucking seagulls everywhere. Dude, I hate seagulls. Fucking seagulls.
That's just mainly to entertain the kids.
Stupid ass birds. Okay, you'll stop having kids. Fucking idiot. Fucking seagulls.
It says the birth rate is not the main factor in eventual numbers. It just means it grows faster, but eventually other things affect the populations. And then they eventually fluctuate naturally, and the largest to smallest can vary greatly. And they give a couple examples, like the gray heron, the smallest to largest population is double. The bordered white moth, the largest to smallest is 100,000 times, because then you have a small thing and a big thing. And I'll bring another anecdote up. It's about a decade ago, there was an invasive species called the Japanese beetle.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, man, these Japanese beetles were going to be everywhere, and they were. They were like eating all kinds of things. There was pests, you had to take care of them. And all of a sudden, they just went away. They're just, I don't see the Japanese beetle anymore, but when they were talking about, they were everywhere. And it was, the reason was because they said there's no natural predators, nothing's eating them. And so,
just like white people, we gotta get the growler bears down here faster.
And so something must have figured out, hey, these are tasty, because you don't see them. I never heard any issues with Japanese beetles anymore, and I don't think they did anything to get rid of them, but they're no longer discussed or talked about, as far as I know.
We came here and they're like, "Oh man, this food sucks," and they all died.
No, they had
Killed
some
themselves.
natural thing they ate. I can't remember what it was, like a linwood tree or something.
Yeah, they killed all of those and they all died. Everybody died.
And it says like the theoretical size of the population is bigger than the typical range. The example they give is an inch of duckweed can cover an acre in 55 days if you let it grow, but it never does. And It says 2 robins can increase to 120 million in 10 years, but it doesn't even come close to that. So other things like predation, like you mentioned, reduces it.
How would 2 robins become 120 million without a lot of incest? Or do they just lay so many eggs? They just lay so much eggs.
Yeah.
It's like okay.
It's normal exponential growth. It talks about seasonal variations, like winter to summer. Like for people, you have New Year's Eve or Valentine's Day. 9 months after that, typically has an increase in birth. You have like rainy to dry season. And so what you typically have is a rapid increase during the breeding season for an animal, and then like a slow decline as some animals die.
This is so boring.
I know, but it's like there's irregular fluctuation. And this is where it's like the change in food supply or something causes predators to increase. And it almost all comes down to whatever the food supply is. So if the prey increases and the predators increase and they eat all the prey and then the predators decrease. They did use an example of this was the great tit and the blue tit.
Shut up, Stan. I'm not listening anymore. I'm watching baseball until you talk about something interesting. Next topic.
It's still talking about the food supply. It does say that when you have a decrease in the food supply, it's not always starvation. It's a lot of time is there's lower births because animals are not. If they're starving, they're not
coming everywhere. They're not
exactly.
stroking their sticks and getting their balls wet. Stan, I'm so bored. Please move on.
I knew this would be bad.
It does talk so about boring.
Successful story about predator introduced.
I took biology twice for fun, and this is boring.
They took the ladybug was introduced to control pests, and it worked perfectly. The ladybug ate the pest. Ladybug had nothing else to eat, so ladybug died. So that was
they're everywhere. They're everywhere in the summer, right?
Not the ladybug. You're thinking of that orange one that looks like a ladybug. It does mention Isle Royale moose population. When moose made it out there, that grew to 3,000, then dropped to 200 after they ate all the food. And when wolves were out there, stabilized at 600.
Okay, I don't care.
Talks a little bit about migrations of breeding grounds to feeding grounds, the north and south for winter and summer.
You know that I hate and have no interest in animals, right? Like any of them.
So in Wikipedia, it has all the formulas to calculate this. So for all the different things that can cause a population to vary. And then it talks a real-life example of applying this formula.
You've given like 8 real-life examples.
No, but it gives like real places where these formulas are applied, like in computer games, video games, SimCity. So whenever you're playing a game like Oblivion...
No, Oblivion doesn't apply. The population is stable until you, the player, go crazy and start murdering NPCs.
Which is one of the things
which
that
I have thought about doing, honestly. Like, I ran out of things to do in Skyrim, and I thought of just killing everybody who's killable. And sometimes they just get themselves killed because they're all idiots. But I might kill everyone in Oblivion. I'm still salty about something. Kill everyone.
Yeah, the biggest places this would be applied would be in the SimCity. So all the SimCity formulas are based on this area of research. So I think you're done with us talking about the biological population. You seem like you're not interesting.
No, I don't care. I've said as much like 15 times, but listen.
Hal is watching her first baseball game ever. That's how bored she is.
Okay. Okay, I don't know if that was sexism or racism or what, but why would you say that? What? Are you just calling him like a fat, weak piece of shit? I could never possibly have seen a sport because I'm so fucking fat and ugly and disgusting.
No. You said typically you don't watch baseball games, but you're so bored that you are.
No, it's objectively more interesting, especially when the team where I live is winning.
Yes. Our last topic is Tucuruvi, which is a metro station in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So it brings us back to Brazil. And this one doesn't have a lot of stuff in there. I'm just going to go through some details. I won't cover it that much.
We're playing Las Vegas, which reminds me of New Vegas, which reminds me of Fallout.
No, it's
Fallout New Vegas,
Are they playing
which is
in
a
Vegas
game
yet?
I didn't play.
Is Oakland playing? I know they're moving to Vegas. I didn't think they had the stadium ready yet. Maybe they do.
I don't know, but now there's a stupid commercial, so suck my ass.
So just this is mostly details because Tucuruvi is a area in Sao Paulo.
Okay.
This metro station is on line 1, which is the blue line. There's 6 lines in Sao Paulo proper, metropolitan Sao Paulo. There's 13 lines that make up the total metro, the non-city, the rest of the suburban areas. This line links Tucuruvi to Javaquara. It was started in 1960s, completed in the 70s.
You're talking about a train?
Yeah, subway.
Great.
Subway or metro railway.
Okay.
It started building it in 68. Commercial operation started in 74. Tucuruvi was completed in 1998. So this has been operating since 74. This is the last one.
Even Brazil has a fucking subway.
I'm going to get this.
I can't take a train anywhere. But
So they conceived the idea of Tucuruvi Station in 1986, started construction in 1988, was scheduled to open in 1990, but as you know, Brazil had a bunch of economic crisis during that time, and so it was stopped and started, finally restarted in 96 and completed in 1998. It's pretty much a north-south line through Brazil, this one is.
that makes sense.
And then we're going to get the stuff you're probably most interested in. So
It's a stroke stick.
the population of Sao Paulo is 12 million people. It's the largest city in the Americas. The metro area has 21 million people. The people that live there are called Paulistans.
Okay.
And this carries 4.2 million passengers daily. The metropolitan suburb area carries 8.3 million daily. There's 234 miles of track. Now, let's compare that to Detroit.
Okay. We have 0 fucking passenger trains.
Detroit has a population of about 700,000. The metropolitan area is probably about 3 to 4 million. The metro in Detroit has 3 miles. So 234 compared to 3. And we have 2,629 daily riders compared to 8.3 million for Sao Paulo.
Well, I guess that makes sense when you scale.
I don't think it makes any sense at all.
I mean, nothing that happens in this fucking country makes any sense. And if you try to think about it, you're just going to break your brain or get really depressed and kill yourself.
Boston, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, they all have these rail things, and we have nothing here. We got 3 miles. 3 miles that you can walk.
Well, on the bright side,
On the bright side.
It keeps the Californians out of here.
Yeah, they're coming.
Oh God! Can we prepare for that war? I don't want. Hey, what's going on here?
I don't know.
What is that? What? Do you see that? What's happening?
I don't have a window.
Look through the window, you dumbass. You want to put this thing up? There's a car on the sidewalk flashing some lights. What is that?
But he's probably doing work on the
Doing pole work. All right, great.
He's not stroking. He's doing pole work.
Oh God, it kind of looks like stroke stick.
So you want to talk about our topics for the next episode?
Sure. This is a very top-heavy episode, front-loaded.
So in 1877, volume 11, page 22, I got 3 choices I can go through. So it's either Jan Johansen van Goen, Leon Goslin, or Count Carlo Gozzi and his brother Count Gasparo Gozzi.
Is that
I'll
seriously a bunch of white men again? I don't fucking care about those, Stan. I know that you really care,
but I don't give a flying fuck.
We'll figure out which one's most interesting.
Well, okay. Probably the Count and his brother, who is also a Count. It's like the Sesame Street Count.
Yeah.
And make sure you bleep the word count out whenever he says it so that it's funny.
From 1980, Volume 2, page 265, the early history of Athens. So this will be, a lot of the stuff you learned.
History again? You're so bad at that.
So everything's history.
You're so bad at that.
And then in Wikipedia, Lumanda Parish in Estonia. We haven't talked Estonia yet. Estonia deserves to be talked about.
No, it doesn't. And yes, we have. Stan, okay. Next time, I'm just going to pick whatever topics I want because, holy shit, every single fucking time with you, it's like a boring white guy, history that you don't care about and that nobody's interested in, and some random fucking tiny building in fucking Eastern Europe. Like, no one cares. Everyone's like, this is the least sexy podcast ever. Even after all that stroke sticking, it's still unsexy. How could you have done this?
I think this will be the stroke sticking episode.
Just call it stroke stick. The faithful will learn what it means.
Any last words before we leave this episode?
Before you murder me with your privilege. Okay, let's see. The score went away, but I'm pretty sure Tigers are winning. Woohoo! Okay. Well, thanks for the Doritos. I have a stomach ache. Those are my parting words.
I do like these.
I haven't had it. I don't have any nutrients.
I got so many nutrients. And it's just your body just absorbs them all because all the hard pot's been done by the whoever makes Doritos. Is that Frito-Lay? Frito-Lay took all the stuff that your body has difficult with and just says, here's crunchy, salty,
I'm pretty sure
spicy stuff that has just goes in your body.
I'm going to find the worst ingredient. It has sour cream. Cool.
It's best when just an entire Dorito is
mixed tocopherols with a tocopherol.
I don't know. Feral means wild, right? Or ferro like iron.
Ferrol. All right. Well, good luck on your stroke sticking game.
Thank you. I'm sure I'll do very well and be able to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about these nuts.
No guarantee on the next when the next podcast will be. I gotta calm Hal down, make sure she's not angry at me for talking about interesting topics.
I have to teach Stan how to be a human being.
All right, ceasefire's over.
Back to war. Bye.
Okay. Goodbye, Hal. Unless you got a jingle for us. I'm not joining you on that one. Okay.
Bye, Stan.
Bye.